weekend's Capitol Report. Pat McGuigan is here, and we're talking about CPAC. It's a big deal going on near D.C. Lots of conservative bigwigs are there and talking and kind of sharing their views. Talk about why it's attracted to the Conservative Party and what it really means.
Well, Conservative Political Action Conference. That's the CPAC, as conservatives call it. When I was a young man in college, and even when I was just dating my wife, we used to go in a caravan of about a dozen people, 2 cars, to Washington for CPAC. I learned a lot there. And interestingly enough, it was one of the things that edged me towards journalism. Star-studded casts for the people that are in D.C. for this particular event, which runs through today, Saturday. Rubio gave a talk on the first day. The absolute star of the first day was somebody we discussed recently in the last segment with Alex, and that was Rand Paul. And about a quarter of the crowd did something kind of quietly symbolic. They stood during his 19-minute speech, because of course the expression that caught on online is "Stand with Rand." But there was a lot of diversity in the course of the weekend. Besides Rubio, people like the former Representative Allen West from Florida, who's still a hero to conservatives despite his loss in his congressional race. I could go on. This is a place where there's arguments more on the libertarian versus traditional conservative end of things. Some of the social issues are discussed sometimes contentiously, but the general objective of the people in the room is liberty, to try to make government smaller and more restrained and work on it in practical ways. And of course, the whole time they're doing it, the liberal media is there covering them, as well as conservative media. So CPAC's a big deal. A good friend of mine is up there, and we'll be posting, I should say, some blogs of hers on CapitolBeatOK.
Well, I've watched a little bit of it, or kind of watched, kept up with it a little bit. A lot of people are saying that this is important because they're trying to figure out where the Republican Party is going. I
think it's a good point. There'll be a lot of discussion on pragmatic things like women, how to appeal to women, how to both fashion messages, things that Obama's side of the spectrum worries about. Is how you present your message in the most palatable way, and how you adapt messages if you need to, and adapt goals and objectives. CPAC was a lot of fun when I was young. I haven't been in a while, but I think I've probably been to a total of about 12 over the years, including when I was in Washington. And so this is a time once a year where you have thousands, literally, of people, as many as 8,000 or 9,000 people gather in any one year.
All right. Here in our state, House Bill 1062, talking about teachers being able to conceal and carry in the classroom. Do you think this is going to become law in our state?
I think the odds might be somewhat against it becoming law still, and the reason is it'll run into some impediments in the Senate where it might not even get a hearing. We'll see. And the governor is being very cautious about it. Now, on the flip side, McCullough worked really hard on this and had important allies helping him, John Bennett and others. And the point he was making was, if you have a trained human being, knows how to use a weapon safely, and this makes more sense maybe in a place like Oklahoma than it would to somebody in New York. But if you have a trained human being, knows how to use a weapon safely and seriously, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that their fundamental premise, which we see portrayed in Westerns all the time, like in Shane, that a righteous man or woman with a weapon can stop a tragedy from unfolding. And there's been a lot of introspection, a lot of discussion among Americans about how to deal with Newtown, the tragedy, the killing of those poor children, and the impact on their families and communities, and what the country does going forward. Well, some people who are well-intentioned have ideas to limit access to weapons. Representative McCullough had an idea: let's authorize teachers who love children and care about them to be able to protect them if such a tragic thing ever starts to occur. It's a different approach. It passed overwhelmingly with bipartisan support in the State House. We'll see what happens on the Senate side.
All right. Thanks so much, Pat McGuigan, with this weekend's Capitol Report. Have a great weekend, folks.